Right, all praise, glory, honor, and thanks goes first and foremost to the Most High Yahuwah. Also, shalom, shalom to my people out there who are taking the time to listen right now. I appreciate you for that. Once again, I'm one of the children of the Most High, and this video is called Addressing the Church Properly. That's right, we're going postal with scripture in this video. Now, this message is actually great for those of us who are new to the truth, as well as those of us who are seasoned in the truth. And the reason I say that is because the purpose of this video is to offer us a fresh or new perspective as to how we can express or deliver the message regarding our truth. Now, in order to understand the fact that our people have had the most valuable information stripped away from us, I want to use a specific example. Now, in order for you to understand where I'm going to go with this message, I want us first to start off with the mindset of understanding that our most valuable information has fallen into the wrong hands. Yes, in fact, our most valuable information has been sent to the wrong address. Now, if any of you out there have ever lost anything of value or importance to you in the mail, then you know how devastating and how frustrating it can be just knowing that your very personal or your very valuable information has been sent to someone else other than you, and that information is actually being claimed by another person, or that valuable possession is being claimed by another person. And in fact, not only is it being claimed by them, but it is being used by them in a way that is not proper. For instance, we have people who commit blackmail using information against people. We have people who also commit identity theft using personal information. So either way, this information can be used against you, or it may be used in advantage or favor of another person to whom it does not belong. And that is exactly what has happened to our people. Now, when I say our people, I'm speaking of us who are being called Negroes today, who are indeed the true Israelites, who are spoken to and about within this book known as the Bible. In fact, this is exactly what has happened to us. Our ancestors, who have had the holy or sacred writings given to them by the Spirit of the Most High Yahuwah, have transmitted that information down to us through these writings that are found in the book known as the Bible. And other people have taken these writings and actually claimed that they belong to them. In fact, these writings have been ascribed or attributed to everyone except for the people who they truly belong to. Now, in order for you to get this message a little more clearly, I want to do a quick recap of some information I covered in a previous video. In fact, that video is on YouTube and it's called What or Who is the Church According to the Book? Now, the reason I'm going to do that quick recap is because I need you to really see that our information has fallen into the wrong hands and been sent to the wrong address by first helping you to understand what the correct address actually is. What is the correct address of the church? In fact, in that previous video, I showed how many people had already had this concept within their minds that the church is actually a physical location or a building. And that concept has come up because many people have been trained to think that way. In fact, many people think that anybody who signs some type of slip that says that they want to join membership under this specific meeting place, they are then somehow considered to be the church that's spoken of in this book known as the Bible. However, I directed my listeners to Acts chapter 7 and showed that the earliest members of the church are actually Moshe and those fellow Israelites who met at Mount Sinai before that mount, before the Most High Yahuwah, and actually to establish the covenant between our people and the Most High. Now, I also showed that that word church within the passage found in Acts chapter 7 is actually taken from a Greek word from which it was translated, and that word is ekklesia. And it breaks up into two parts, ek meaning out of or from, and klesia meaning to call. So literally putting those words together, it means the called out or the called out ones. So very clearly, we are not dealing with a physical building when we are talking about the church. In fact, as you can see from the translation of that Greek word, we are dealing with the called out or the called out ones who are a people. So in order for us to discover who these called out ones are, we have to go to another one of our ancestor prophets known as Oshay. In fact, if you go to chapter 11, verse 1 of his book, you're going to find that the Most High speaks through our prophet and says, "When Yashrael was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt." So the called out ones, according to this passage found in Oshay, are the people of Yashrael. That's right, us, the Israelites. We have been called out of the bondage of Egypt. In fact, anytime now that you hear the word church or ecclesia or congregation or even saints, you should speak of or think of our people. That's right, the true Israelites, those of us who are being called Negroes today. Now, with this being said, you've got to know that our people were called out of bondage for a specific purpose by the Most High. In fact, if you go to Devarim or Deuteronomy chapter 7, you're going to find that the Most High declared through the words of Moshe that our people are a set apart or holy people unto him, and that we were chosen to be a special people above all other people that are upon the face of the earth. So very clearly, there is a special purpose as to which we were called out of our bondage for. In fact, you can even go to the book of Shemot or Exodus chapter 19, and you're going to find that the Most High also told Moshe to let our people know that we are a kingdom of priests unto him, and we are also a holy or set apart nation unto the Most High. So clearly, the Most High is dealing with a specific nation of people, a chosen nation of people who are special unto him. Now, a lot of people get hostile when they find that people make this claim, when our people say that the Most High has chosen us to be special unto him. However, it's very clear throughout Scripture that this is the truth. In fact, it did not stop with Moshe. And you can go all the way up to the time of the apostles and find that our ancestor, known as Kephah, who many people call Peter, was actually writing the same exact words to our people. In fact, he wrote in his letter, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people." So very clearly, even our ancestor Kephah was writing the same exact words that Moshe was told to speak unto our people. So that information has not changed. In fact, if you go further into the passage of Kephah, you'll find that he goes on to say that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So once again, Kephah also recognized that we, the people of Yashrael, are the called out people of the Most High. That's right. He called us out of the darkness and the bondage that we were in when he brought us out of Egypt and brought us into the wilderness and established his covenant with our people before that Mount Sinai. So just understand, even if you go to Exodus or Shemot chapter 4 verse 22, the Most High declares that we have a special status of favor before him. In fact, he told Moshe to go to Pharaoh in that passage, and he explained how he wanted Moshe to let Pharaoh know that Yashrael is my son, even my firstborn. So the Most High claimed us as his firstborn son, which means we are heirs to that kingdom that the Most High has given to our people. In fact, if you go further into that passage, in verse 23, you'll see it's not even just about our identity as the people of the Most High, but the Most High also gave us a responsibility. In fact, he goes on to say, "Let my son go, that he may serve me." See, the Most High called us as his special people to serve him. In fact, that is exactly what we are called to do as a kingdom of priests and a set apart or holy nation unto the Most High Yahuwah. In fact, whenever you hear the word church service, people have gotten it in their mind that it means to go to this specific meeting place and sit there and sing songs and read certain passages out of the Bible outside of context. However, when you understand what church service really is, it is specifically a nation of people under the Most High who have been chosen by the Most High, fulfilling their duties as a kingdom of priests, a set apart people unto him, by carrying out his commandments that he gave our people to live by under the holy covenant that he established with us, which includes his laws, his statutes, his commandments, and his judgments to our people. It's very important that we understand this true context of what the church is, because now we can properly address the church. That is the proper way to identify and address who the church, the Most High, is referring to in these scriptures that he transmitted through our people. Now, with that being said, for those who have taken our information and claimed our information as theirs, we need to ask them a very specific question. And that question is, didn't you see our name on our mail? Very clearly, our name is written throughout our mail. In fact, when you opened up 1 Kings, you didn't see there that it talked about the 12 stones, which were to correspond with the 12 tribes of the sons of Jacob. That's right, unto whom the Most High Yahuwah actually came and said, Yashrael shall be your name. When he named our father Jacob Yashrael, and that name was then passed on to us as his people, you didn't see the writings there about that? Or how about where it talked about in 1 Chronicles, O ye seed of Yashrael, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen ones. So you didn't see that, our name written right at the top? Or how about in Yirmiyahu? That's right, the one you guys call Jeremiah, because you often twist up our names. You didn't see where it says, hear ye the word of Yahuwah, O house of Jacob, and all the families of the house of Yashrael? Yeah, this mail should have came to our address. Or what about Ezekiel? Another one of our ancestor prophets who wrote to us and said, therefore thus says Yahuwah, our mighty one, now will I bring the captivity of Jacob and have mercy on the whole house of Yashrael. You didn't feel like you should have stopped reading at that point and forwarded that information to the correct recipient? Okay. Well, how about Yeshayahu, the one you guys call Isaiah? That's right. Yeshayahu is notorious for writing to our people. In fact, he's one of the most popular ones of our ancestors. Remember when he wrote, but now thus saith Yahuwah, who created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed you, O Yashrael, for I have redeemed thee? That's right, the Most High was talking about redeeming us, and the fact that he called us by name, and that we are his. Okay. How about when Yeshayahu wrote about Yashrael being the servant of the Most High? And he also saying to Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. Now, this is clearly about friends and family, because I already established how the Most High called us his firstborn son. But now when he's also calling our father Abraham his friend, this is clearly a private affair. So why would you keep reading our writings and claim it as yours? Okay, how about even earlier in Yeshayahu's writings, where he said, Yahuwah sent a word unto Jacob, and it hath lit upon Yashrael. So clearly these words were sent to our people. How did it end up in your hands? All right, let's go to Michal. You know, the one many of you call a minor prophet. First, I want to clear something up about our ancestors who spoke as prophets by word of the Most High. None of our prophets are minor prophets. Anyone who speaks the words of the Most High are major prophets, period. In fact, if we go into the word, it talks about how Michal spoke the words of the Most High and said, hear this, I pray you, ye heads of the house of Jacob, and princes of the house of Yashrael. Clearly, this is directed to the leaders of our people. So why are other people claiming this to be theirs? Or how about when Michal wrote how the Most High said, I will surely assemble, O Jacob, and all of thee I will sure gather all the remnant of Yashrael. Why are people claiming this information when this is talking about a gathering to which no one else has been invited but Jacob and Yashrael? Okay, how about the Psalms, right? Because our people have been notorious for having psalms in different forms, hymns, songs, right? King Dawood, one of our notorious kings, was definitely behind writing many of the psalms you find. And when you read the psalms and it said, ye that fear Yahuwah, praise him. All ye the seed of Jacob, glorify him and fear him. All ye the seed of Yashrael. You didn't feel like that was just talking to Jacob and Yashrael, just as it said, as clear as day in black and white? Okay. How about Romans, the so-called New Testament, right? Because, see, many of you people read that epistle or that letter to the Romans and said, oh, this is to another people besides Yashrael. When you were unaware that according to our history, our heritage, our people had been scattered to different lands, and many of us had been in the land of Rome. And actually, we were the ones who our ancestor, Shaul, who you guys know as Paul, was writing to when he wrote to the Romans. In fact, he said, and so all Yashrael shall be saved, as it is written, just as I showed throughout many of the writings. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. So very clearly, this was about the deliverance of our people. So what does this have to do with everyone else who is claiming our writings? Okay, let's even go to another passage in the so-called New Testament. Because, by the way, our ancestors who wrote these writings never put a partition in their scrolls and said, well, this section is Old Testament and this section is New Testament. So why did you feel comfortable doing that to our writings? Now go to Matthew chapter 15. And Yahushua HaMashiach, our Messiah himself, says with his own words, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Yashrael. So very clearly, once again, these writings should have ended up in the house of Yashrael, amongst our people. So, why has this happened? Why are people claiming our information? Why are many of our own people not claiming our mail? Well, the truth of the matter is, we've all been deceived and lied to. That's right. And that lie is still being upheld even now as we speak. So, I'd like to tell the people who have been opening up our mail and seeing that our name, Yashrael and Jacob, is written all over it, and still continuing to read and hold on to our possessions, our valuable writings. The ancestors have given those writings to us, their descendants, and other people have stolen our mail. And mail theft is a federal crime that comes with a heavy fine as well as some heavy time. And so if we think about the fact that you have taken our scrolls, which actually were given to us by way of the word of the Most High himself, then it turns it into a spiritual crime. And you got to know that the fines and the time that you would do for that is much heavier. So with that, I want to know why you felt comfortable reading our confidential mail and going into the writing of our ancestor Kephah, who people know as Peter by a Greek name that was not his original name. Why do you feel comfortable reading his letter to us and seeing how it is written to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia? That's right, our people, because as I mentioned, according to our heritage, our people have been scattered and dispersed away from our homeland of Yashrael due to the sins of our people. In fact, you're going to find, as you get familiar with our truth, that the history of our people has it that the Most High gave us a law as Yashrael, and that law was placed on our promised land, in which anytime we sinned, we not only defiled ourselves, but we defiled our land. And once we defiled our land, that led to our land becoming ill. It would actually vomit us up and spew us out. And so we would then be in dispersion or diaspora, or we'd be scattered away from our homeland as we are today due to the sins of our people. So our apostles knew about this law. And so, of course, Kepha was writing to those of us who were estranged now to the covenant, and we were being brought up in these strange lands. So with that, we can even go to James. That's right. Another of our ancestor apostles who was actually writing to us, and he noted how he was writing to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. By the way, James, his name is actually derived from the name of our patriarch Jacob. You can do the math on that and find that he is directly linked to us of Yisrael, and he was writing to our tribe specifically. So why did you feel comfortable reading that and claiming that Mel as yours? All right, one final one. Let's go to Hebrews. Yes, the letter to the Hebrews. How can you, a non-Hebrew, actually claim this Mel and say that it belongs to you? In fact, we don't even have to go into the passages, just look at who it is addressed to. But if we go to chapter 1, verse 1 of Hebrews, you'll see that it talks about how our mighty one, who at sundry times and in different ways spoke in time past to our fathers, yes, by the prophets of our people, the Hebrews. In fact, as you continue to read, it says, hath in these last days spoken to us by his Son. That's right, the Messiah, as I showed, who clearly declared that he came only to the lost sheep of the house of Yisrael. So, as you could see, at all of these letters, in chapter 1, verse 1, it is made clear as to who these letters are dealing with. But yet people felt comfortable reading our information when it was for our eyes only. Now I'm going to tell you, one of the problems that has led to this Mel mix-up is the fact that we ourselves as a people have taken on the wrong address and the wrong names. We have called ourselves by the wrong name. We have allowed others to address us incorrectly. Now, the Most High himself has never addressed his people or his church as Christians. He does not call us that. In fact, if you go to Acts chapter 11, verse 26, you're going to find that our people, our ancestor disciples, were first called Christians at Antioch. Now, you got to understand something about that truth. The truth of that matter is that Antioch is located in Greece. And so if you understand anything about our history, the history of our people of Yisrael and our relationship with Greece, then you would understand that we were held in captivity and oppression under the Greeks for a long period of time. In fact, as early as 332 BC and up to over 200 years after that point, our people were under heavy bondage and oppression underneath the Greeks. And so therefore, the names that they placed on our people were not warm and fuzzy names. They were not names that we were to be identified by. In fact, it's no different than today when our people are under American captivity or captivity in other lands to the four corners of the earth. Our people have been called every name under the sun besides the name that truly belongs to our people. And often those names that we've been given are just downright derogatory. That's right, they are shameful terms. So when you hear the word Christian, you got to understand when it comes to our people of Yisrael, that addressee is unknown. You can return that to sender. We are not Christians. In fact, let me prove it. If you go to first Kepha, go back to our ancestor Kepha and his writings to us, his people, you'll see he writes, yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed. You see, the issue here was Kepha understood that that was a term of derision. That was a derogatory term, a shameful term or label placed on our people by those people who had oppressed us. So therefore, it was not the name of our people. And so Kepha, our ancestor, was writing to us to encourage us not to get caught up in that shameful term that they were putting on us, but for us to still glorify the Most High, our mighty one, and not to lose focus of serving our mighty one as we were called to do by the Most High. In fact, if you want to find a term or label that more appropriately fit our people and our true heritage, then you will go to Acts chapter 24, verse 5. And there you're going to find that our ancestor apostle Shaul, whom many people know by the name of Paul, actually was called or referred to as a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. So that's right. The Nazarene term actually does apply to our people. How do I know that? Because if you go to Acts chapter 22, you'll find that that's exactly how the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, introduced himself to Shaul. He introduced himself as Yahushua of Nazareth. So therefore, our people were connected to Nazareth. We were connected to the Nazarenes because our people have that as part of our heritage of Yashrael, especially those of us who have believed the words of the Messiah. And we follow the Messiah the way that Shaul followed the Messiah. Then that is a term that does befit us. Now, let's go even further. If you go to 2 Chronicles chapter 7, you'll see that the Most High makes it clear that we are called by his name. Because he says, if my people, which are called by my name, should humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now, this ties back perfectly to what I was saying earlier about the law on our promised land and the fact that we would be spewed out of our land whenever we defiled ourselves, leading to our land being defiled with abominations. In fact, that's found in the book of Wayikra, also known as Leviticus. You will find that law. So with that being said, let's understand that we were scattered away from our homeland, and the Most High gave us a promise that because we who are called by his name have this special standing before him, that he would heal our land when we return back to him. So therefore, we need to get rid of that term Christian, because the Most High said we are called by his name, and his name is not Christian. In fact, Christian is derived from a Greek origin. So that name or that title, that label, being Greek at origin, is not the true title that would ever be placed on an Israelite. We stick to our heritage. The Most High gave it to us completely at the Mount. Now, let's also understand, if we were to look back at the ancestor Yeshayahu, the one that has been called Isaiah by many, you will find that he even speaks the words of the Most High, who tells us that he formed us and that he has redeemed us and he has called us by our name, and he says, thou art mine. The Most High has claimed us as his people. So therefore, we being of the household of the Most High, being of the household of Yashrael, this mail should have been sent directly to us. It should have been forwarded directly to our address. Now, there's another issue that has to be addressed to deal with this mail mix-up that's been going on. In fact, this issue is found in dealing with the passage in Galatians chapter 3, where you hear that it says, there is neither Jew nor Greek, therefore all are one in Messiah. So people say, so it doesn't matter who this mail goes to anymore. It belongs to anybody because it says there's no difference between the Jew or Greek. However, people have totally taken this verse, this scripture, this text out of its context. Here's what I mean. Earlier I talked about the fact that we have been under oppression to the Greeks. So we need to return to that time period to understand how this passage is actually being used. If you go to the book of Maccabees, that's right, this is an apocryphal book, and they're the first and second books of the Maccabees. You would understand that there was a Greek captivity that our people went through. In fact, for those of you who have split our writings up into the Old and the New Testament, you've put that partition between the part where you find the end of Malachi and the beginning of the book known as Matthew or Matthew. Now, in that make-believe partition that you guys have put there, there is actually a space where these books of the Maccabees would actually be planted, because they cover that period between the Persian Mede captivity of our people in Malachi and that period of the Roman captivity found in Matthew. And so therefore it covers that gap of period where we actually fell into the hands of the Greeks. And so under that passage found in the book of Maccabees, you'll find in chapter 1 that there was a king surnamed Epiphanes who was ruling over that kingdom of the Greeks, while the Greeks had us in their captivity. And in fact, you're going to find that our people of Yisrael had some wicked men within our people who actually went out and persuaded many of our very own people to make a covenant with these heathens, the Greeks who were round about us. In fact, you're going to find that some of our ancestors of Yisrael were so far into this notion of forging this covenant with the Greeks because they felt it would give us relief from the oppression and the bondage that we were under while the Greeks were ruling over us, that they actually went directly to the king, who gave them license to do after the customs or the ordinances of the heathen. So this means they became official Greeks according to the king's decree. Now, not only did they become official Greeks by paper, by official decree, but they actually went out and carried on the customs and the ways of the Greeks to a T in many cases. In fact, they built up stadiums. Yes, the same stadiums that you see today. The same places, arenas where you see the Olympics carried out, which, hint, hint, was actually another one of the rituals carried out by Greeks, the heathen rituals. Because when you speak of the Olympics, which is tied to Mount Olympus, that is where the pantheon of the Greek deities was actually established. So therefore, why would we be carrying out their ways? Well, according to the passage found in 1 Maccabees, you'll see that we made ourselves uncircumcised. That's right. Many of our people had become uncircumcised, and they had actually forsaken the holy covenant that we have with the Most High Yahuwah, and they joined themselves then to the heathen. So we basically had Israelites of our nation who were actually claiming to be Greeks. They had taken on the title of being Greeks, and this had happened for hundreds of years. So many of us had taken on the names of the Greeks. As you'll see, even today, our people take on the names of those who held us under captivity. Many of us have British and German names. Many of us have European names that are clearly not tied to our true culture of origin. So we need to understand that this should be familiar because it's happening even today. We have so-called blacks or Negroes who are calling themselves Black Greeks. That's right. Israelites today are still carrying out the same atrocities that our ancestors had done under Greek oppression. In fact, you're going to find many of our people are wearing the alpha beta of the Greeks and placing it on all their paraphernalia, their hats, their jackets, their sweaters, the chains, their rings. And at the end of the day, it gets even worse because many of them have taken hot iron and branded the Greek alpha beta onto their skin, right onto their flesh. Now this is horrible because this is actually carrying out the very same oppression that was put on our people, but now it's being done automatically by our own people. They no longer need to be told to do this or forced to do it. They do it automatically because they have fallen under this oppressed mind state and they have lost their true identity. They forgot about the true covenant that our people have with the Most High Yahuwah and how we were made to be on top. Now, with that being said, we've also got to understand that some of the other atrocities that come with those Greek fraternities and sororities is that they call themselves titles such as alphas and omegas, when according to our very own scripture, the only alpha and omega is the Most High Yahuwah. He states that in the scripture. So how dare we go and raise ourselves up to even call ourselves those names when those are titles that are put on the Most High only? So you should have gotten the memo, and many of us did not get it. But if you go to Daniel, another one of our ancestor prophets, chapter 12, you're going to find that very clearly it is stated that, and at that time, meaning the latter times, the last days of this age, it says, shall Michael, the messenger of the Most High, stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. Now, these words were given to Daniel, an Israelite. So when it says thy people, this prophecy is related only to the people of Yashrael. In fact, go on even further into the passage and you'll find it says, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Now, we know this is talking about the Lamb's book of life. And so therefore, the names that are found in that book are Israelite names. This isn't for everybody. This is a kingdom that is established by our heavenly Abba, the heavenly Father of Yashrael. Okay, if that's not enough, then I want you to open up your scriptures, our scriptures, in fact, and I want you to go to Psalms chapter 50. So you can see indeed it is about our people only. In fact, the Most High declares in that passage in Psalms chapter 50, between verses 3 and 5, how he is going to, in the last days, call our people to judge us. And when he says his people, he talks about gathering his saints together. That's right. Unto him, those who have made a covenant with him by sacrifice. Now, our people of Yashrael are the only people who have made a covenant with the Most High by means of sacrifice. In fact, when Moshe actually stood before the mount with our people congregated there, the true church in front of Mount Sinai before the Most High Yahuwah, him and a few of our Israelite men actually slayed some bulls and some oxen, and the blood from those sacrifices was put in basins. Now, some of that blood in one of the basins was put on the altar, which was put before the mount, before the Most High Yahuwah. The blood was put on the altar of the Most High. Now, the blood from the other basin was actually taken and sprinkled on our ancestors who stood before the mount. And that was how our people were brought into the bond of the covenant before Mount Sinai. So very clearly, it is our people who have this to speak of. In fact, heaven and earth were actually called to witness against us the day where our covenant was established before the Most High. So if you go back to Psalms chapter 50 and look in verse 4, you see that the Most High is calling those very same witnesses. In fact, he says he's going to call to the heavens above, from above, and to the earth that he may judge his people. See, he is calling the same witnesses to the same group of people that he had actually established his covenant with from the beginning. Okay, for those of you who say that our people have been replaced, okay, go to 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 17. And you'll find there in verse 17 that the Most High makes it clear that he is talking to those of us who have the covenant with him. Yes, those who are in that covenant that was made with our father Abraham, and of the oath unto our father Yishak or Isaac. And it says, and have confirmed the same to Yaakov, that's right, our people, for a law, and to Yashrael, that's right, our people, for an everlasting covenant. So this is an everlasting covenant. This was not some temporary thing that was going to be called off. The Most High knew exactly what he was doing when he called us. He called us for the long haul. So, with that being said, it makes then perfect sense why when you get to Revelations, chapter 21, verse 12, that it talks about the kingdom of heaven having 12 gates. And each of those gates has one of the names of the 12 tribes of Yashrael assigned to it. So very clearly, this kingdom is being given to the same nation to whom it was promised from days of old. We were told that we were to be a kingdom of priests and a royal and a holy set-apart nation. So we've got to understand that this has not changed. So therefore, this male that has fallen into the wrong hands needs to now be properly assigned to the true people to whom it is addressed. So I hope this information has been eye-opening to you. I hope this information makes sense. And I encourage our people of Yashrael to go and claim your male. It's extremely important. Shalom, shalom.